This episode is brought to you by BEAMOps. If your Elixir deployments are painful, or your infrastructure is a mess, or you just need experienced hands to help you scale, these are your people. BEAMOps specializes in scalable Elixir development, automated deployment pipelines, and infrastructure migrations. They will help you work smarter and ship faster. As authors of the Prague book, Engineering Elixir Applications, they know their stuff. Check them out at beamops.co.uk. Secure your Elixir apps with Paraxial.io. From code analysis and bot defense to dependency checks, they've got you covered. Elixir first design with GitHub integration. Elevate your security at Paraxial.io. Testing. What's up? I'm Jacob Litzo, your Elixir Mentor, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Elixir Mentor podcast. This is where we discuss everything related to Elixir, from interviews with enthusiasts, pioneers in the community, to innovative projects and libraries shaping Elixir's future. Today, I'm joined by Vasilis. He's a head of software development at Teacherspace, and he's here. We're going to talk LLMs, Ash, just agentic software in Elixir in general, and I'm sure we'll dive into a ton more. Thanks so much for joining me today, Vasilis. I really appreciate it, and it's great to meet you.
Thank you. Yeah, nice to be here.
And sorry if I butchered your name. I feel like I'm not doing it right, but I'm trying.
It was good. It was good.
All right. You want to, for our audience here, do you want to just kind of give us a brief introduction about yourself? Like, where are you based? What is your background? Kind of, where did you start to before you got into Elixir?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm based in Prague, and basically, it's where my parents grew. That's a funny story. I come from Greece, but both my parents kind of like grew up here, and yeah, so I've been working with Elixir for like around 9 years now. And yeah, so basically, I guess like I started with Ruby, like most of Elixir programmers do. It was like around like I think 2014 that I started, and basically it was in college. So I wanted to start building something like a product that I had in mind, and started looking around what can be used. And I found like Ruby on Rails. So I kind of like got into doing Ruby, and I kind of like I really kind of started loving the language, because like in the school we were doing only C, Java, so kind of like these like I would say like not very exciting kind of like languages. So it was really interesting to me to kind of like find Ruby, and it was very practical. You could do things. I remember I was like working with us, the Rails book, I think it's called. Basically, it's you're creating this like online store, and yeah, and I was like really excited about the language. So I wanted to like learn more. I went to some meetups in Athens. So like it's a funny story. I was basically like studying. I would go, like I would take the train, travel like 4 hours to Athens, go on a meetup, and yeah, I'd come back afterwards. And yeah, in one of the meetups, there was a guy, Dimi, and he's a good friend now. And he started like talking about Elixir basically. Um, so yeah, so that's kind of like my first introduction to Elixir. A couple of years later, I wanted to learn something functional, and thought Elixir was a good fit to like start to learn that. And since then, I guess I was like an Elixir advocate. So I really kind of started like the language, pushed it in. At the time, I was working in a small consultancy here in Prague, or like it's actually fairly big now. At the time, it was small. And yeah, since then, I've been kind of like working with Elixir. Been working mostly with startups, going from yeah, from like fintech to supply chain, like yeah, and now I'm working in edtech.
That's awesome. Very cool. So you got like you have a computer science degree. That was your background?
Well, not really. So basically, so I dropped off the university because I started learning Ruby, and it was quite, I would say, it, like I didn't feel I was learning enough in the university. It was like very technical. So we were learning things like electrical engineering as well, and kind of like which is interesting. But I kind of like wanted to like do things. Like imagine we didn't even learn Git in school. So like Git is something that I discovered by
I bet
myself, and I
people
was
still don't learn Git in school, which is wild,
yeah,
right?
that's
Like
crazy.
you should be starting like group projects where you have to use Git and do pull requests and code reviews, right? And they don't.
Yeah, that's very interesting to me, right? Like, it was crazy. Like when I discovered GitHub, it was like, like a kid in a candy store, they say, right?
Yeah.
So like it's all these like projects. I was like, yeah. So I never finished the university. I just like went to work. So when I started like doing the kind of like Ruby, I came here to Prague for like one summer, and I met some people. They were very kind of like we started talking about Ruby and stuff. It was very exciting, and I just started to work for them.
Nice. I kind of have a similar background. I got my like undergrad degree in civil engineering, which is like, you know, construction and building, whatever. And I then got the smart idea a few years later I was going to go and get my master's degree in software engineering, but all they were teaching was Java. And I actually dropped out because of Java. I hated Java. And I could just teach myself and move so much quicker, kind of like being self-taught. So I just went that route. And so software,
Mhm.
kind of the same path. I quit university and taught myself.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like you can learn a lot like in a company, like much more than like studying. But I
100.
guess it depends. Yeah, like if you want to do something very focused, like it depends, right? Like if you, for example, like want to do AI and you go to the company doing AI, even there you're gonna learn more. But there's some things in the academic world that's I feel like interesting, right? And yeah, definitely there's also like many paths you can take from an academic perspective and do a lot. Yeah.
I do agree. Like you learn a lot of theory and like computer science and like algorithms and like why you do
Mhm.
certain things, which is important. But I think as long as you're self-taught and you're willing to go and learn those things too, you're good. Like go build, but then like when you kind of hit a bump in the road where you have to use, I don't know, big O notation or something, right? Dive in and actually understand why.
Yeah,
And then I think you'll be
absolutely.
good because you don't really know what you don't know until you run into it, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when I first started, just I could just build like an iOS app, right? And I could get a couple screens, push some buttons, do everything client side, but I thought I was like on top of the world because I can build software now.
Yeah,
And then yeah,
mhm.
and then the longer you're in the game, you're like, dude, there's so much I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a classic the Dunning-Kruger effect, right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's funny. So now you work for Teacherspace, or is
Hmm.
it your company?
No, I work for them. Basically, it's we just got acquired, so it's like
Oh, awesome.
2 weeks ago. And yeah, so we were a very small team. It was like 3 people. So yeah, so I was the only engineer there, basically taking care of the whole system. And yeah, we now got
DevOps
acquired.
and everything?
Yeah,
Yeah,
everything,
yeah.
everything. And it's actually there's a lot because there's a lot of integrations with like third parties. So it's in the Danish educational system, and you have a lot of like um, basically, I think they are private companies that like work with the government, and they develop these like very large applications that like the whole educational system is using. So it's like big contractors. And yeah, you have to integrate with all of them, right? So like you have like one contractor that is like for um, basically the user management, kind of like the identity. Then you have like different for like the schedules, others for like grading, and so a lot of integrations. And I feel that's kind of like the hardest part because you have some really modern partners that like use you know like modern technology, like maybe GraphQL or something, or kind of like they're using like Vue plugins and some others that are on very old technology. So SOAP, for example, and yeah, so you have to like balance it out. Yeah.
Dude, when you integrate a ton of like third-party APIs, I feel like it's so hard to like keep your like UX peaceful and flowing nicely. It's a difficult problem because you have to like not only deal with your errors, you have to also deal with errors you can't control.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
What just like kind of like a macro description, what is Teacherspace?
So we basically build software to help teachers. Um, we have like various different like sub products, I would say. So we have one where it helps like with video. So basically teachers record their classes and then they can like receive feedback. Customers are using it for actually different like also like in different ways. So we have, for example, like one of our biggest customers is actually a university that will record, but like it's not teachers who record the videos, it's their students, and then they are getting graded on on those videos. So basically, it's students that are becoming teachers. So they're still students, but yeah, they're on the path to become a teacher. And then they have like as part of the assignment, like they have to like take videos, and then there is a professor that like grades them. So for example, that's one use case. Um, then we have like a chat with the rack system. This is more for like most of our customers are like primary school is called like right like the first school you go like the primary, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, so it's a chat with the rack system. We have like a product where they can like correct text, yeah, and like generate images. So basically, it has the LLM integration, kind of like the generative, kind of like yeah type of functionality. Um, so yeah, but like the main goal is to help teachers kind of like find like like when they're starting their journey and they don't kind of like know a lot, to kind of like boost them so they have access to the material that they can teach. They can ask questions and yeah, things like that.
Okay. So it's like kind of it networks teachers a little bit, and
Yeah, yeah.
and teachers in like university or whatever that are becoming teachers.
Yeah, so that's the thing is that like it's still a very small company. Like now that we've been acquired, there's gonna be like much more use cases. But up till now, it was like very small. Like we had just a few customers, and overall, like the whole operation, you can say, was quite small. And we were still trying to find the product fit. So that was like I think the hardest part, because the company did like a pivot like 3 times, where they started with an idea of something that could work. We start like selling to some customers, and then they saw that kind of like, okay, this wouldn't scale. Like the initial idea, even before I joined, was to record videos so that the teachers themselves, they can kind of like give feedback to each other. And that kind of like didn't work out because it's like it just didn't scale. The teachers didn't have like time for it, and it didn't make sense for like most of the schools. So then we had to start thinking, what else can we do? We created like this automated feedback where basically we would like read, make a transcript from the video, then kind of like analyze it with an LLM and provide feedback to the teachers. But then again, that didn't work out because they either they didn't have time to kind of like record the videos. That kind of like the first problem, but also they didn't like the LLMs at the time. They weren't at the level of giving good feedback. It was very hard to transcribe the audio correctly because you have basically like Danish and like bad quality audio, so the models weren't as good. So we had to have like layers to kind of like improve the transcription, and then kind of like it was very hard to create the set, like figuring out how to create good feedback, right? Like something that's kind of like constructive and really helps the teachers. So yeah, so we can like spend a lot of time on creating this product, but then it just like didn't work out. So we have to do something different.
The fun of pivoting to find product market fit, right?
Yeah.
I wonder if any companies nail it at the start, because it's always funny, like the hear what the MVP product is versus what you have to do to actually make it whatever market ready.
Yeah, I think like if you're building a SaaS product and you can already have a customer from the beginning, right? Like you can kind of like have somebody with a need. And I think that's the easiest way to find product market fit is where you actually start building for like a problem that not just like, exists, but you have like the person like that needs this, like the company that needs it, and you start building for them directly. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're a solo developer there, or not anymore, but you started off that way.
Yeah. Mhm.
Well, yeah, and then so I'm gonna go down the like, what is your full stack? Like you have Elixir on the back end. You're using Ash, I think, right?
We actually don't in Teacherspace. So
Okay.
I'm using, yeah. So in Teacherspace, it's kind of like a classical, like a Phoenix with LiveView, and yeah, like Ecto, and kind of like I would say like the traditional Phoenix app.
Okay.
And yeah. Where I'm using Ash is in the startup that I'm working on. Yeah.
Okay. And can we talk about that one? What is that startup and what
Yeah.
are you doing?
Yeah, so that's like called communities. It's basically, how would I describe it? It's a platform for it's like a local first platform for like a social network, right? Where it focuses on making the connection through a community, so through groups. Like how one could think about it is like if you put together Google, Facebook groups plus Google Maps and Craigslist, kind of like all together. That's kind of like what you would get is so basically how it works is that you can like register and you can see things that are happening around you, and you can join kind of like local groups, see kind of like events, places that are happening around you. People can like post items. So for example, they might want to share some things with others, so they can kind of like put it there. And yeah, so
Okay.
it's a social network that is like focused on kind of like what's happening around you. And the main idea is that everything revolves around kind of like the communities, which are basically groups of people.
Okay. Are the communities like based off regions or more like topics and interests?
So anybody can create like a community that like what they would like to. Right now, we have like a very few communities at the moment. So basically, it's been really, really hard to kind of like get people on the platform. And I think that's the biggest challenge, right? Like it's especially on I think on consumer facing apps, like having the thought that yeah, building something is usually the easiest part, especially at like
That's what I say.
yeah. So we have very few communities, and most of them kind of like are semi-active, right? Like people will log in maybe like once every couple of weeks to kind of like see what's happening, but it's not like activity you can rely on. And yeah, so we have like one that's like around like philosophy. There was like there's now it's like not active because they only do it like part time of the year, but they do like a film festival, and yeah, so.
Okay. What is your ideal like use case? So like you have one that's a film festival, but they're probably only active during the festival and maybe a couple weeks before. And then like philosophy, obviously, like anyone interested would probably want to go there and chat about philosophy, right? Is
Mhm.
your goal to kind of support both, or because I feel like they're kind of different use cases, right?
Yeah, and that's also like a challenge to like try to figure out what's like to focus on. Um, like what I would think, like I'm still like figuring things out as I go, to be honest. And but like one, like how I'm thinking about it is like if you want to do an in-person community that you like meet with people and you kind of like want to be able to track physical locations, track maybe items that the community like has access to, also like contacts. So basically, one challenge that a lot of communities have is that they have like a concept of an actor, and basically an actor is a person or an organization that can help them with some goals. And yeah, they have like different ways of like keeping all that information. And yeah, I think this can help organize it in some way, right? Another thing is that, for example, like taking decisions. So a lot of communities have like they want to take decisions and like have everybody contribute. So you either have to like meet in person, or of course you can have like a signal chat or something. But yeah, it's there's kind of like a few problems from like talking with people that this can help. But my main focus is like to be for in-person communities, because like I think there's already things for online platforms that are for online communities, and I haven't found like any like good platform that's kind of like truly helps solve the problems of in-person communities.
Yeah, fair. I don't know if you know what Meetup is. I don't know if that's
Of course I do, yeah.
a
So
world
like
thing or just a US based thing.
no, like
But
Meetup is really big, yeah. And
okay.
yeah. So it's like yeah, I would say it's actually the closest to what I'm trying to do. But the issues there is that like it's not really helping organize the community. It's more kind of like you have a host who hosts events, and then you have like the members, and this sense of kind of like doing things together. It's not really there. So kind of like
Hmm.
that's part of the I would say like the differences. Yeah.
I feel like Meetup destroyed their like monetization strategy during COVID. Like they like spiked their rates. They like tried to force every host now to like pay money, and like it used to be free. I don't know what they were doing. It was probably just venture backed or VC backed, right? But I don't know. I feel like they kind of went downhill.
Yeah, they changed ownership actually a few times.
Okay.
So I think that's that, right? I think they weren't doing as well financially as they wanted to, and kind of like it got sold the whole company a couple of times, and like new pressures and all that. Yeah.
That's the problem with too many board members, right? Or investors. I'm curious, what do you have like a monetization strategy, or what is your goal? Are you making money or not yet? Is it going to be free for a while?
So I'm not making money yet from it. Um, the idea is to basically have memberships, but there's overall like many ways to monetize it actually. So what I want to focus first is to do like government contracts. So so there is a business model that you can like. So basically, the idea is to also help people become connected with their neighbors, with their locality, right? Like support local businesses. So the idea is to try to basically work with the government to find regions and try to basically do pro-social work. So basically help people engage socially, um, yeah, through various activities, organizing kind of events and all. Yeah. So this is something that seems to be working in Scandinavian countries. There's like a few companies that do that, but I haven't seen it happening here. So I want to see if that's possible. Of course, lately it hasn't been like easy because like a little bit of right-leaning governments and everything. So not the best time right now. But I've talked with some people that are kind of like in a position to like help me with that, and they think it's a good idea. But they told me this that right now it's not the best time to kind of like for projects like this. So
Got it.
yeah, trying to kind of like yeah, but like I want to see with time how it evolves because like yeah, time change and also it's a lot about trust when you work with the government, right? So they want to see something happening and it having already impact. And once you can like show that, then they're much more like willing to work with you.
Mm. It sounds like a very painful experience working on contracts with the government.
Well, it doesn't have to be actually. Like it depends. Yeah, of course it's difficult, but it can also be kind of like provide stability because like yeah, you can you don't have like as much pressure, and that's like what attracts me there is that of course if the government is not corrupt and you have like a good government, which I think here in Czech Republic the government is pretty good. Then you can do like pro-social work. You can do like something that's like really beneficial for the public. And I don't know, I just like feel really good about that. That's kind of like what I want to do is build things that like help society in a meaningful way.
Yeah, I like that. It's always a good goal, right? Now this project is using Ash, right?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Now, what are like some cool features that you've been working on? Because I know you're like you're a big advocate of like Ash and agentic coding, and like it all kind of works well together. And I know you contribute to a lot of open source projects. And what has your experience been using LLMs and using the Ash framework?
So I think Ash and LLMs work really, really well. And I've been actually very surprised. Like in the beginning, I thought because, like Ash is like a niche like project in a niche language, so I thought kind of like it would be very hard to for LLMs to kind of like learn it and work with it. But it turns out it works really, really well. And I, I think the main reason for that is so like if you think about it, LLMs are recognized patterns, right? And then because Ash is kind of like unique in a way it's written, I think even if there is just a small amount of like data it's been trained on, it like knows that data very well, if that makes sense. So you can think about it like, let's say you have like JavaScript, and there's like a lot of JavaScript, different versions. You have like CoffeeScript, PureScript. So even if there's like a lot of data, in theory, it could get kind of like mixed up because there's like things that look similar, but like they behave differently, right? And I think Ash being like a very unique syntax, even with just a small amount of data, the LLMs, they can kind of like learn that and they get pointed to the right direction and they know, okay, this is Ash. And it's kind of like they recognize it and they know how to work with it. So I think that's like one of the reasons why they might be good. Also, like, so we talked about it a little bit before, is that it's declarative and you can like introspect how things work, right? So like if you're using Tidewave, which I really recommend using Tidewave with any Elixir project, then basically it can look up how things are and it can get so much information, right? So it's in LMs, I feel it's all about getting the right context. And when they can get the right context of how things are structured, it's much more easy for them to work with things. Regarding kind of like interesting like features, what I was like really surprised. So basically in Ash, you can, or there is like a project called like Spark that you can declare your own DSLs. And I kind of like didn't feel very comfortable kind of like using it, but there were some use cases I wanted to, right? So more specifically, like we have this notion of a resource and of like a community resource. And what that is basically like a different type of data that like a community can have. So you can imagine like a post or like an item, an event, a place. So like there's like right now we have like 9 different types of like resources. And I wanted kind of like something to combine to like make it easier to create more resources, but also like to have some shared code, right? Some shared like foundations for all of it. That is also configurable, so like each of them can have like different settings, right? So it was something that I knew I wanted to build like early on, but I didn't like feel that comfortable like starting Spark, kind of like writing my own. I don't know. I just like felt a little bit intimidated, I think, to be honest. But I decided to actually just try to do something simple with Spark. through the LLM, and basically it was to like try sluggable kind of like functionality where you can say use sluggable, and then it kind of like makes things sluggable. And like I say use because yeah, we getting used to the use function, but basically you just say sluggable in the resource. And yeah, so I tried to kind of like prompt that. I explained to the LM what I wanted, and I was like really surprised that it made the Spark DSL. It kind of like implemented the feature, and it just like all worked like right off the bat. So that kind of was like my starting thing that okay, that's like it can do even like the LLMs can do kind of like even things that you wouldn't expect them to. And it was like 6 to 7 months ago. It was like maybe longer by now. Yeah. So yeah, it's a while ago. And yeah, what was really interesting is that then I kind of just like went through what it did, and I understood kind of like how like the Spark DSL works, how kind of like you can configure it, and kind of like it was an interesting experience for me because I learned that you basically yeah, you can learn a lot as well through kind of like LLMs. You don't have to just like generate code and kind of like just like use it. You can then like read it and understand it, and it can like boost your learning curve, let's say.
Yeah, I would. Oh, I got buzzers going off in my ear. I would say I like realized like the upbeat of Ash being really usable by like Claude Coder. It was usage rules, and I feel like ever since that came out, it just was like night and day difference too. Because I feel like once you like what you're saying, you have like such few examples, but there's really only like one way to do it and to approach problems. Like once
Mhm.
you have your resources and actions and uh, whatever the like authentications behaviors whatever you're doing, it's all done the same way, so I feel like it's like such a repeatable pattern to keep just producing more resources or
Mhm.
domains. And it's not I like so kill switch, my little side project, my SaaS project, which by the way is very hard to get users on board. So I'm right there with you, but it's been a lot of fun. But yeah, Claude Code's amazing with like helping me knock out features now.
Yeah, yeah, they become really good. It's surprising. Yeah, I'm sometimes kind of like feel uncomfortable because I can feel that you're delegating too much, and yeah, it's like I'm just like afraid where this goes. Like if you continue on that route, but the interesting thing is that you can start focusing on other areas, right? Like you can start thinking bigger about the system. I don't think I would ever be able to achieve so much and kind of like start thinking about things that I don't right. Like when I started working on it, I was like very much okay, I'm building like this product, and all my focus was on that. But now I'm starting to think about like how to market it, like how to build a system of kind of like creating leads, and all
Hmm.
these like things that you just wouldn't have the bandwidth as a single developer. So I
Right.
think it's you can use this kind of like you delegate something, like you start thinking more as a manager, I would say, right? Like where a manager doesn't think about the nitty gritty of how something works, but like how to make a project successful. And I think that's kind of like what like the skills that enable you to train. Like when you basically are working with LMs, you train your manager skills. Yeah.
Yeah, like I just had Luca on last week. He is a CTO or co-founder of a fintech, and he said it perfectly. He's like, I never thought like I'm a software engineer, right? I never thought coding was my job, like writing code. He said my job was creating solutions and in it, like,
Mhm.
producing a product that solves a problem, right? Not how you get there. And I like that because we still have to solve the problem, know how to solve it. And now we just get a lot of assistance in a lot of the manual labor that we used to do.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
like you're saying, it gives us more time. Like I hate it, but I need to, but you have to spend more time marketing and selling your product. And now you can spend like it's a lot easier to do like 50-50 split with your time when you can kind of just like if I organize a feature, I try to keep my features like, at least like consumable, like not like just go build this whole platform, right? But like when I create a feature, I try to keep it like very small and to the point, and I plan it out as detailed as possible. But then I can just let Claude go do its thing, let Tidewave. I've been using Tidewave quite a bit. It's a lot of fun, especially with like UI, just like the ability to click on components and be like, why doesn't this work like it should? And it just solves problems. But like you can kind of let those things work in the background, and I can be wasting my time trying to post on Reddit or, market my product, write blog posts, whatever it may be. Um, I'm not a huge fan. I'd rather be building features, but I also want to be a product owner, and that's that's kind of the double-edged sword, right? You have to do a lot of things you don't want to do.
Yeah. I think what's important is like not to stop doing good plans. And I don't, and like saying the word plan now is kind of like it makes you think about like the plan you give to the coaching agent. But I mean more about understanding the system and kind of like constructing the system and having a good idea how the system is like wired together.
Hmm.
Because like I feel like when it didn't work well is kind of like when I tried to use like LLMs and it didn't work well was always when I kind of like delegated too much of the plan, right? Like kind of like had like some like half-baked idea and kind of like was okay, like let's see what it does with that, and then I run with it for a little more than I should. So I think that's great to kind of like get an idea of what you want to build, but don't rely on that. So like I think it's very important to have a good idea of what you're building and yeah, and design the system. Yeah, not delegate the design of the system.
Yeah, 100%. I'm gonna just pause this for about 30 seconds, and we'll be right back, guys.
Hey, I'm Kimberly with Elixir Mentor. Jacob recently added recruitment services to help companies hire pre-vetted Elixir devs. I help with company outreach, so if you're hiring, I may be reaching out, or you can connect with us anytime at elixirmentor.com.
Coding Elixir with AI or building AI into your Elixir apps? The Elixir AI Collective Discord is your community for both. Link in the description below. And we're back. All right, we got some good chat in the comments here. Daharma, sorry, I probably butchered that, but he just said that it's personality driven development, like founder mindset, the ability. I think like AI is helping developers that are more entrepreneurial kind of own their ideas, right? Like Kill Switch for me was an idea I wanted to build for, I don't know, maybe almost like 8 years. Like I came up with it 8 years ago. I wanted to build it, but I always put it off because I didn't have time. I was like, what one, like I'm not a front end developer. I actually hate front end development. It's not great. I hack my way through it, but like Claude gives me the ability to now deal with Tailwind and all the things that I hate. And so now I can actually just make Kill Switch in my free time and like make relatively nice UI designs because I can be like, hey, Claude, look at this website, look at this website. I want kind of like a mixture of these components. Help me, make my branding or my color palette. And it's been awesome. So now I'm a full stack developer, even though I hated front end development, and I can build a product. And like I think like the cool thing is like I'm a back end dev, and so like security has always been a priority. So I'm less concerned. Like everyone's always concerned, like if you're vibe coding too much, are you gonna have like huge security vulnerabilities? And I would say probably yes. But at least like I still review all the code going in. I understand my DevOps to a degree, and I know that my back end work is solid. And so that helps me kind of sleep at night. And I think like we're gonna see a lot more. I don't know. Like I see all these doom and gloom articles about like the end of SaaS, right? Because now everyone can just kind of make their own products to fill their needs. But you still are going to have like well-established solutions that people will be willing to pay for, because it's not always that easy just to vibe code your own solution. So
Definitely, yeah. And a lot of the time, it's also like the ecosystem, right? It's not just like having a single product, but it's how it integrates with everything else. And yeah, that can be like a harder problem, right? Like, let's say, right, like anybody could like build like a YouTube platform, but like making it work at scale and kind of like having the people there, that's the hard part. So I think, yeah, consumer products are definitely kind of like, still like the mode there is kind of like having this like network effect and having kind of like the people there. And even for kind of like SaaS, that's kind of like business, like pure business to business, I think like a lot of the times we think we understand a problem, but we don't really. And it's only when you get into the problem that you kind of like see all the nuances. And yeah, I think if you're naive to think that kind of like you already understand it fully, then you're probably wrong, right? Like, yeah, and if you do understand it fully, you probably see that, like all these years, people like, like these companies have put into building these products, you probably cannot like, compact it to kind of like a few weeks of web development. It's just impossible.
yeah. And another good message in the chat is like SaaS is no longer a moat. And I agree. So I think we're going to just see a lot more products hit the market,
Yeah.
but we're also going to see a lot more garbage. But I think that's kind of where competition will just like kind of even things out, right? Like the garbage is going to die and the good products are going to survive.
Yeah.
Or maybe the better marketers will survive. Who knows?
Yeah, but I do think like software is gonna change a lot, because if you think about it, software has been about like managing information, right? And we got a new way to manage information now that is like very, very flexible. So yeah, I think a lot of the pipelines we had, you had like a person that had like this flexibility, and then you had like these rigid systems that like were very kind of like deterministics, and they were doing something, and then the person would like make these choices, right? They would have like there's uh, like human understanding and kind of like the ability to kind of like decide what's going to happen. And now we've built machines that can make decisions, right? And that fundamentally changes how some software works, right? Like, so I think we're gonna see a lot. Like I do agree that like a lot of the SaaS products are probably gonna, like die out, or kind of like they're gonna like change. But it's not necessarily because somebody can like vibe product, like vibe code a product, but it's more about like the needs are going to change, right? Because we are able already to manage information in a different way. And that's a lot of the SaaS products, they kind of like depend on this human making a decision. And that's not longer going to be like a requirement maybe in the future for some decisions.
Have you, or I guess I'm curious on your take. I've heard a couple people talk about like, stop building products, just build like APIs. And I'm assuming like the angle on that is we're going to probably vibe code our own personal dashboards to consume APIs the way we want to consume them. Like, what do you think? Do you think that is going to be a direction things go? Like more integrating Claude into our lives to work with like products we have out there?
I think definitely there's going to be, I can see kind of like this idea of like having an API, having like a system that is easy to kind of like, that the machine can integrate with directly, and it doesn't need to use the UI. So definitely there's a merit there. Yeah, so I do think so, but I still think that there's going to be like some need for some UI. But yeah, it's interesting. I definitely think UI is less important today than it used to be, because there's going to be so much. Like you're going to have like your agent who's going to consume the API, is going to show you the information exactly the way, well, hopefully exactly the way you need it, right? But
Right.
it can be a double-edged sword, right? Because a lot of these companies have put like time to understand how a person wants to view the information, and you don't always know how you want to see the information, right? So like you have like a product like Linear, right, that like managed to like there has been like task management apps for like so long, and then linear comes and it kind of like makes things a little bit faster, smoother, makes it easier to like navigate around, and all of a sudden kind of like everybody loves it, right? Because it makes the things faster for them, and it kind of like they didn't even know how they wanted things to be represented, but the moment they use it, they understand, oh, this is the way, right? So I think like good design and kind of like thinking through something and understanding how somebody might want to see it, like it's still a hard problem, and I don't think LLMs are, at least for now, particularly good at it, right? Yeah, so but they might be. I don't know. It's kind of like it depends, and I think they're definitely gonna become better, and already you can see that like a common thing is to tell an LLM to explain to you like a repo and make an HTML page out of it, and that's been like really useful, right? So like you can even like, let's say like you write a PR, and then at the end you say, hey, can you kind of like write me an HTML page that explains kind of like what we did in this PR, what were the changes, how it impacts the system, and it can easily give you like an overview. That's very helpful. So yeah, I guess it depends. I'm honestly not sure, but I feel it's gonna be less important, like the UI.
Yeah, I don't even think we know where this is going either. Like, I think the way we probably consume software is going to be drastically different than we are today. And I don't have the answer. I just feel like we're not doing it right.
Yeah. But like back to Ash, I'm not sure if you saw it, but like recently there's been a new release of like Ash TypeScript, it's called, and basically it's a project.
Oh, I have seen that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I started. So basically, I had this idea of an agent orchestrator. Basically, so the idea is that you have. So it's interesting because like I had this idea, and then I saw an exact product on GitHub called paperclip, and basically the idea is that you have like you have the project, you have like you can create like issues of the project, and also you can create goals, and then you can like create agents, and you can assign issues and goals to the agents, and they're gonna like work on it. And the interesting idea is that like when you have like a goal, the agent can like read that goal, and it can create its own issues and kind of like like work off that. So so basically you can like define project in terms of like goals and issues, and have agents like work on them, and you kind of like create this organization structure. So like paperclip specifically tries to do this thing called like autonomous companies. But yeah, I had like this a similar idea, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna try to kind of like work on that. I just saw like that Ash TypeScript came out, so I wanted to see how it works. And so I basically kind of created this like plan to where I kind of like told it like how we want to integrate, kind of like what are the tools that we want to use, and yeah, and I started like building it, and it's been working really well. So like and I highly recommend it. So basically what it does is that it takes you can define which resources you want to be mapped into like JavaScript, and then it creates like this RPC interface, so that you can basically work with your resources directly in React and create like the front end. So that has been working really well.
That's pretty cool.
Like that's one thing I think kind of like with LiveView that like LiveView is great for like back offices, internal thing, even like I think like SaaS. But when you like, the thing is that the ecosystem, like the JavaScript ecosystem, is like so huge. So there's always kind of like these things that you will want to through kind of like the JavaScript ecosystem, and then you have to kind of like basically combine LiveView with the JavaScript. And honestly, hooks are working really well. It's like a very good system, and kind of like how you can like use hooks to use JavaScript with LiveView. but I always feel that you have like this connection, and it's still like a lot of like libraries, and like there's a lot in the JavaScript ecosystem, and I sometimes feel that we are trying to fight it too much when embracing it, and kind of like just like using it would just like make some stuff like much easier, right? I, I don't know, like there's always been kind of like this like this gap to breach. Yeah, and it was interesting with like Ash TypeScript. I feel like it's just like integrates very nice. So you can integrate the hard parts, like so you don't have to like build like APIs. You don't have to kind of like make clients on the front end. That's like all handled for you, and you can just like use your resources and use kind of like established libraries and on the front end like React and I don't know, like Sad for like styles and components, and it just like works. So that's been a really nice experience.
Yeah, that I gotta probably look more into it. What is your front end for your communities app?
So that's LiveView.
Oh, it is
Yeah.
LiveView. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then do you have a mobile app or no?
No, so I have like the web progressive app. So I'm like using that, but it's not a mobile app, and that's kind of like one of the challenges is that like almost like it is essential to have like a mobile app, and I'm trying to figure out how to do it like effectively, and it's kind of like hard to get like an Apple like a web progressive app published on the App Store. It's a little bit easier on Android. But yeah, so then I kind of like want to go into that. It's kind of like in the backlog. I have almost everything ready, but it's just like yeah, have to go through
Yeah.
years. Yeah.
Apple's such a pain in the butt. I've been trying, so like I kind of have Kill Switch set up as like a PWA right now, and it works great on a desktop and on iOS mobile though, for whatever reason. And if anyone's listening and knows how to fix my configs, basically, I don't know if it's like in my manifest or where I'm setting up, but like where I load on my dashboard looks perfect. It's all the UI is exactly how I want it. The second I navigate to another view, the browser like navigation pops up, and it's like it no longer looks like a PWA, and I can't figure it out for the life of me. I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but it's super annoying.
Maybe I can like help you with that. Like take a look at it.
Yeah, I'll share my code. Be like, what am I doing? Because I know it's probably something silly. It's probably just because it shouldn't be difficult to set up a PWA.
Yeah, like I got it working on kind of like the browser. You can like add it, everything like works, but it's still not like like it wouldn't be a native app anyway, but it's still not on the App Store. And for some people, it's kind of like they just want to have it on the App Store, you know?
Yeah, there's like a level of trust, I think, having it on the App Store. And yeah. I don't know, Apple might have changed this, but I don't think you have access to any kind of notifications without going through the App Store.
You do, but you have to open your app. So basically, you only get the notification when you open the app, which is kind of
pointless. Yeah. You open it and you just get flooded with a bunch of push notifications. Yeah, that's so dumb. I feel like Apple has gone so far out of their way to stop PWAs because they want to just be greedy and force everyone through the App Store and get their 30% cut or 20% cut.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, let's see. What, like, I don't know if I fully understand, like, when would I want to use Ash TypeScript? Like, I would use it in my LiveView apps instead of JS hooks, or how would I use it?
So basically, if you want, like, yeah, if you don't want to use like LiveView and you want to be fully on like the JavaScript framework, then okay. Yeah, so that's the ideal use case for it. And yeah, so what it does is it automates all the API kind of like interactions. So you get basically it generates for you a client, and you can use that client right away. So you don't have to like write the client code; it's generated for you, and it's generated with types So you can use basically TypeScript, right? And it's all kind of like typed for you, and all that kind of like works. So you can think about it as like generating the client for you, and you can directly use a client. And there's basically like no effort. You don't have to create the API. You just use the Ash DSL to kind of like define which resources you want to use and kind of like any configurations you want to give. And yeah, and it just works.
I see. Okay, I love that, dude. That's actually, it needs to be talked about more, is how awesome Ash generators are for your migrations and all. Like, have you ever had to go and fix one of your migrations, like add an index to it or any of that using Ash? Because I haven't.
Like, yeah, I can also like think of a time. Like the only time I remember, like there were sometimes that I did indexes, but then I realized that actually I wasn't configuring the resources correctly to do the indexes. And I kind of And yeah, if you want to do extensions or something like that, obviously like you're gonna write the migration. Yeah, but everything else, like, yeah, you can just.
But for like simple CRUD operations and like it's just magical and you don't even have to think about it.
Yeah, and even like things that I wouldn't expect. So for example, there's like these like complex indexes that you can do on vector embeddings, and you can define that in Ash as well. Yeah. So basically, it gives you the ability to basically, yeah, you can configure almost anything. I haven't encountered really something that you can, but I'm sure there are cases like that. And overall, I would say like the ecosystem around Ash is so good. Like I'm surprised that it's not like more popular. Yeah, because like you have things like Igniter. I think it really like changes the game in many ways, right? So I think in general, like the libraries around Ash are amazing, and if somebody hasn't like looked into that, I highly recommend it. Yeah.
Igniter's really nice. Like if you have any library out there too, integrate it or set it up with Igniter, because it makes using your library so easy.
Yeah. True.
And it's just the same with usage rules. Add that to your libraries, because I feel like instantly unlocks like a superpower that, all of a sudden your agent MD file just knows how to use everything in your project.
Mm.
What does your current like workflow look like using Claude? Do you use Claude Code, and how do you plan a feature and write one?
So mostly Claude Code. I would say it depends. Now I've been doing like the past couple of weeks, I've been doing like a lot of prototyping since we kind of like got acquired because we're launching a new product. So I'm kind of like just testing things out. So it's been kind of like raw prompts and kind of like reading code, planning, basically what we're gonna build and how kind of like designing the system. Yeah, so that's been kind of like the past couple of weeks. But otherwise, I've developed this system where we make these plans and then implement these plans. So so the idea is it's kind of like interesting like concept. I call it like easy development. I wrote like a blog about it, and basically you go through these cycles of like you have like an idea. So you have like 5 cycles: ideation, exploration, specification, then kind of like implementation, and finally evaluation. And the idea is that you start with a very rough idea, then you kind of like explore that idea and kind of like understand what do you want out of it. And then there's the planning phase where you basically like make a plan and you kind of like the specification phase. The specification phase, you specify what you want to build, and that's kind of like, of course, where product is involved, and general kind of like people who have input in how it should be. And then you go to the implementation, and then finally you have like an open phase where like maybe after a few weeks or after a month, you kind of like assess of how the product was built, and if kind of like there's like you can do like product iterations right after you ship. And so usually kind of like how it works is that like either like help or try to understand kind of like what the plan is. And then I have actually a skill that I've prepared, which is like or more of a command where I roughly kind of like tell it the plan. Sometimes we have like a more official spec that we create, and then I create like I tell it to like initiate a plan, and then I go and I read the plan carefully. I make any edits, I kind of like update it, and it has like this very kind of like defined structure with a kind of like a definition of done. And then I work on the definition of done items, either kind of like through like prompting nowadays. And to be honest, like I prompt using Claude Code mostly. I will like look at the code, and I have like this flow like I call like interactive review, and it's again like this like command that is like a 7-step command. But basically, you tell the coding agent to uh, read the changes that we've done in this like branch, present in a product-oriented way the whole features and how it impacts the system, how the system looks now, and you basically say to include like diagrams. And then the third step is to create diagrams and present them, and then wait for user instructions. And then the other steps is kind of like after you give the like towards the end is basically kind of like to ensure that there's like good documentation and tests and kind of like to do QA. And so after I kind of like run the first kind of like prompt where it's kind of like the initial specifications, then I run through this interactive review where I kind of like look at what it did basically from its own output, right? And then I kind of like see if it makes sense, make any changes. So I basically can tell it to like change things. There's like this other like command that I use that's kind of like says like look at things that you've like implemented and kind of like now that you've like implemented it, basically is there anything that you would change or have done differently? And then kind of like you say like these are like you should ensure that like there is kind of like that it's architecturally like sound and some other kind of like things. And yeah, so kind of like almost like sculpted, right? So basically you get like this like rough thing, and then I sculpt it, and then I finally kind of like look at the code, like create create a PR, like review it from there, like the final pass, and then like merge it. Because I'm the only developer, I self-merge for now. So
That's dangerous. No.
yeah. So
I also self-merge, at least with kill switch, right? But I'm curious, do you find like that whole setup and like kind of workflow is Claude like one-shotting things for you because you take that time?
I wouldn't say it's almost never that what like one-shots things. What I would say is kind of like it goes like 80% of the way or like 70% of the way, but then like the last 30 can be like the like takes almost as much time or like, well, basically the first prompt kind of like is like the easiest, right? But like I would say there's gonna be like issues, and usually it's kind of like more architectural or kind of like more like not necessarily like nitpicks, but like how I would like to see the system like be, right? So there's definitely kind of things that I do afterwards, and yeah. But it's rare for me to actually delve into the code and change things myself. Like I've seen that, especially like lately, that I'm able to describe what I want, and it basically gets it. For the most part, like yeah, usually where I go and like actually write stuff is usually when I have like API keys and configurations, basically because you don't want to just like tell you this is the API keys, can you configure it? So basically I configure the API keys, and then I say, okay, you got there's like these keys.
You don't trust Anthropic with your API keys?
Yeah.
Do you think So I keep my production keys off my obviously my project, and I manually put them on my server. And then I let Anthropic touch my dev keys because I care less about that. But I am like always paranoid because they'll like act like they can't go and look at your .env files, but you know damn well that it's scanning all your files and reading those constantly.
Yeah, like I know for a fact that it definitely has like read through kind of like API keys that they have on development. Like I guess now we just have to rotate keys more often and hope for the best, or in general, kind of like have keys that are not as impactful. Like me working with LLMs a lot, I do actually have a lot of the LLM. Like we have like different keys for like dev and staging and for production. But like basically it's using the same model, like basically we host them on Azure. So if the key were to be leaked, it's actually they could kind of like charge us a bunch by using the key, right?
Yeah, like I think about that all the time because like I like have like Twilio set up for SMS auth and messaging and notifications, and yeah, if someone got that key, they could just send text messages to everyone. I'm trying to think like another damaging one. I guess it could be like my S3 buckets. Stripe wouldn't be a good API key to get.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I've been extra paranoid, but I am pretty lax because like my dev keys, they're always like obviously just for dev and like local host my environments. But I feel like I would just, if one of them started having like rate limits or weird access, I would just disable them all like instantly and regenerate them.
Yeah. I think that's where like there's gonna be like we should focus on kind of like thinking about how do we make systems that are resilient in that way, that kind of like I can have like a kill switch, like right, like or something that you can kind of like you can fast kind of like rotate keys and things like that, right? So because like if it takes you like a few days to notice or rotate something, that could be an issue, right? So and it can totally happen like in a large organization, especially like as less people are taking up more things, like the system becomes very complex, and if you are like down kind of like focusing on a feature, like remembering exactly where to go to kind of like change that key of that service, it might not be that straightforward, right? So yeah,
I just thought of a product. Well, I think you thought of a product. I think we need like a 1Password or Bitwarden, like a password manager for API keys, and you can do API integrations. You can generate new keys and revoke keys all from one dashboard. That would be a really cool product. Someone should build that. Whoever's listening, someone built that.
But then of course you create like this whole security hole as well, right? Because like you
have to really trust. Yeah, you got to trust the platform. But actually, I don't know a good way you could do that. You'd have to have API access kind of all through the client side. And then you could encrypt everything client side as well if you store anything on the database. True. Yeah. It would be, it's messy though, like, cause you want your client apps to be dumb for the most part, right? They view data. That's all you want them to do. But then like, since I've done kill switch and it's zero knowledge, I have to do a lot of encryption and decryption client side. And it kind of goes against the paradigm of what I think front end should be. But yeah, there's like a balance I think you kind of have to hold there.
Yeah, it's always you have to expect that there's like different types of users, and some are gonna be like more technical, like feel comfortable with kind of like owning keys and owning responsibility. But yeah, like that's also like why crypto hasn't like really worked. I think is that like most people they they're not ready to take responsibility, or kind of like they're not as technical, right? So
yeah, it's too complicated to get set up. Like to open a crypto wallet, you have your key, and then you have your private key, and you have to kind of understand how encryption works a little bit. And yeah, or if you lose that or give it to anyone, you lose all access or give away all access, right?
Yeah, and it's either like it's who you trust, because for example, it's easy today to kind of like get a crypto wallet, right? You can go on your phone. There's like many apps that kind of like are crypto wallets, but you either like allow them to have the keys and they can actually have access to them, right? Like many work, like there's some that work through like Google login. So basically, even if you lose your phone or something, you still have access. But the truth is that somebody has your keys, like, and yeah, and hopefully they're not gonna like do anything malicious with it. But yeah, you do kind of like somebody has to kind of like have that knowledge, and if you're not willing to have that, the kind of like the knowledge and responsibility, and if you're not willing, somebody else has to, right?
Yeah. I will say I have leaked some API keys on some live streams, and the Elixir community are pretty honest folks. So no one grabbed it and went and used it. So that was good. And then I obviously revoked it after the live stream, but it was active the whole time and no one stole it. So that was good to see.
Nice. Yeah, I think Elixir is one of the sweetest communities I've encountered. Definitely. Yeah.
Oh, that's kind of a cool idea. So Dharma in the chat, he saying that, the whole API key manager is just essentially a password manager. But he's like family keys would make sense. That would be kind of cool. Like you could actually generate keys that point at a key and actually like never give access to your real key too. So you could kind of like a URL shortener or like a redirect. You could actually, guys, this could be a cool product. You could you could share keys that go to your product's API, and then it grabs the actual API key and returns that. And that could be encrypted or handled however you want. I don't know. I think we just really overcomplicated this, but I like it.
It's also like, thinking about if it has access to revoke, because that also can be a security risk, right? Like if you can revoke the keys and all of a sudden somebody's getting errors in production. So it would also, like the keys it has to have the ability to regenerate, like how is that managed? Is that on the client, right? So yeah, which could be on the client, but then like how does the client know it in the first place if it is not signed into the platform? So yeah.
It's a cool product, but there's some complicated architectural decisions to make. Yeah, that's a tough one, because like imagine if anyone gets access to your platform. Let's pretend we created this manager of API keys, and you could be like, community. What is the name of your community app? Is it just community?
Communities with a like plural.
Okay, so communities, I could just be like, oh, I hate that guy, and then I hack his API key manager and then just revoke all his keys in production.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And then your system blows up. That would actually be a nightmare. But at least you have the API key manager, and it's really easy to just regenerate.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's true. Yeah. So that then you can recover relatively fast. Wait, that's the cool thing would be like if you, that would be an interesting thing. So what if it regenerated, it would apply the changes directly in your app. So basically the worst case would be that your app restarts to like apply the new keys. But basically every time you regenerate, but of course then you could do like a denial of service or something. But imagine like when you regenerate the keys, it automatically kind of like sends the message to your app to kind of like apply the new key.
Yeah.
So Yeah.
What would be cool is then all your API communications all go, it would have to all kind of, well, I guess just retrieval of keys would all go through your API instead of your environment variable file, which I don't know. I kind of like this idea. It might slow things down though, if speed matters on
Yeah.
requests, but I don't know. I think someone should
I,
build this. I don't want to.
yeah.
It sounds hard.
I think a lot of nuances. Like when you start, if you get into it, you're gonna discover a lot of things. Yeah.
Maybe we should start an Elixir Mentor open source project and build this thing. That could be fun.
Hmm.
But someone should take the reins. I'm too busy.
Like back to LLMs, I'm kind of like curious about. I've been thinking about this concept, and I'm trying to see what other people also like think about it. But do you think that LLMs understand, that have the ability to understand?
I don't know. I don't think they have the ability to understand. I think they have the ability to see patterns and copy patterns.
Yeah.
And they obviously really good like search algorithms, right? For finding data in a mass amount of data.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's just, I mean, I'm a complete idiot, so don't listen to anything I'm saying. But like, I just feel like they're really good search algorithms, like, you know, next level Google search, right? And then I think you're just kind of using it as a pattern recognition, and it
Mm-hmm.
sees it. That's why it's like so good at functional programming and immutable languages, right?
Yeah.
Because like a pattern is just so much cleaner and easier to see, and then it can just regurgitate and write code. Because that's like one of the things that I always do. Like you were talking about, you kind of have like a review skill. I'll
Yeah.
always ask it before like a PR, or even if I have a PR open, but like, are the changes in this branch, do they follow like architectural decisions and like patterns that are already in the app? And if it says that like a part of it sticks out and doesn't look right, it's like, it helps you find nasty code, right? It'll like, yeah, I don't know. I always ask it to compare against itself, like do a get difference here. And
Yeah. That's really important, I think, for it to be able to like reflect and like most do it naturally. Like most LLMs, I would say. Yeah, basically almost all the LLMs that have like thinking, they basically reflect. Well, LLMs reflect by default because that's their the attention mechanism is to look what you did before, right? So they have like yeah, but yeah, they like if you tell them that they kind of like should like apply critical thinking, if they can even do that, that like it definitely helps them kind of like looking at the patterns and try to see if there's something like wrong with them.
yeah. Dharma wants to know if he'll see you at ElixirConf EU.
Yes, I will definitely be there. I'm actually giving out the training, so I'm going to be a trainer teaching about basically how to create LLM-enabled applications. It's an interesting program. We're going to building this like a to-do app, and that's the foundation. So you have like a to-do app that's all done for you, and then you start putting like smart functionality on top of that. And it's basically there's a command palette and you can like type things into it and it will do. So they can like tell it to create tickets, to move tickets, to do like research on the web and kind of like prepare some things for you. So I'm looking forward to it. Actually, it's my first time it's the first time I'm doing training in ElixirConf. I've done one small training about Elixir here in Prague some time ago, some like years ago now. But yeah, it's gonna be the first time in ElixirConf, so I'm actually yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
That's awesome. You'll do awesome. I'm sure it'll be great. I wish I could go. I tried to go to the Lisbon one, and I got sick the morning of my flight and had to cancel the whole trip. And then life's just been too crazy. I haven't even had time to really travel. But I want to get to Chicago this year. It might not happen. We'll see. Yeah. Just life. Life is crazy.
Yeah, it sounds like a long a long travel, right? Like to go to Europe. I would imagine that you would like to combine it with some vacation or.
It would have
some-
to, it would have to be
Yeah.
vacation for sure. But like, there's so much to see.
Yeah.
Like twist my arm. Where is the EU
It's-
conference this year?
It's in Malaga, Spain.
Oh, okay, nice. Yeah. So like, there's so much to see in Spain.
Yeah, it's my first time actually to Spain. So
Oh, nice.
yeah, like oh, nice. Mm-hmm.
Oh, Daharma's giving his first talk too. That is awesome. Let us know what your talk is. And do you need to be a guest on my podcast? Maybe you do.
Mm-hmm.
See, I always got to recruit. I have to catch back up, and I have to. The worst part about my podcast, or I should say the part that I procrastinate the most, is scheduling the events to show up on my website. I don't know why, but something about creating thumbnails I just don't want to do until I have to. It's so much work. I need to maybe get Claude to start doing it for me, like integrate it with Canva somehow. I don't know if I can.
So basically to do what?
To create like the thumbnail, like, you know how like I have your headshot and then I just have like, I have like the title of the podcast episode, but then like a lot of it is the same. It stays static. But yeah, just creating those takes a long time. So I always procrastinate it.
Yeah.
Not a long time, but more time than I'd rather write a feature for Kill Switch, So I'm curious, solo entrepreneur communities, right? What do you do to get the word out? How do you onboard people? Is it just a lot of hand holding right now and like manual work, or what's your strategy?
So in the beginning, I was kind of like trying to find the kind of like who would be kind of like relevant to the project, and now I'm doing like a lot of networking. So I basically I'm becoming familiar with like community builders here in Prague, and mostly people who are like focused on like social impact. So there's, for example, we have a partnership now with an organization called Migact, and they are doing basically they're helping immigrants integrate into like Czech society. So like Prague is around like maybe like 20 to 30% immigrants. So there's a lot of immigrants living here, and part of their mission is to kind of like help the immigrants integrate and kind of like be part of everyday life. So kind of like working with them, and in general trying to find people who are socially active and try to do like these initiatives. What I want to get into, but I'm kind of like still haven't like gotten into it, is to work with people who are doing volunteering. So organizations who are, for example, like maybe they are doing programs that like help like homeless people or somebody to like find food or shelter, and basically kind of like try to work with them. And because I really want this to be kind of like about making your region like a better place. And I think volunteering is a really good way to like connect with people, socialize, and also kind of like help somebody. And it's really rewarding, like when you do some volunteering. So that's kind of like a space I want to like see and find people, and see also kind of like what problems do they have, and how kind of like I can help them maybe like integrate there. So kind of like right now I'm more focused on kind of like networking, trying to find like key people that could like help me kind of like, because I feel like what I would like to do is kind of like get into these organizations that are already existing and already functioning. And it's not always easy to kind of like break through, especially if they are not very always like welcoming to outsiders, like trying to like quote unquote like sell them stuff. So so I want to kind of like get involved, because my goal is to like help them really. So I kind of like want to first show up as a human, like help them kind of like be involved, and kind of like see through that, kind of like how I can actually also build a product that helps with these goals.
Yeah, I think that's a good strategy. I think people underestimate just knowing people, right? Like if people know you and they like you, they're more likely just to like trust your product and give you a try. So I think that's a good strategy for sure, especially for like a platform like communities. You kind of, you get a couple like, big people or agencies on there, right? And you'd probably see just an influx of use after that too, because then word of mouth starts traveling and people talk about liking your product.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. Yeah, but it's kind of like difficult. What I'm now kind of like getting into, and I really like the idea, is I mentioned earlier that I'm kind of like thinking about this or like building this product that basically you have like agents and you assign them tasks and all that. And I want to basically what I've like done is I've integrated with like a CMS. So there's like the CMS called like 20, where it's like an open source CMS, it's self-hostable. So like I hosted that. There's also like a product called like Affine that's also self-hostable, and it's basically an open source Notion. And now the idea is kind of like you put agents to do like research and try to find like organizations and contacts, and basically like fill up your like CMS with kind of like relevant contacts, and then you go through that and kind of like have people to kind of like reach out to. It's been actually hard because like I found that it works best when you go through an introduction, like cold messaging or cold emailing. Like these people have got like very few responses, and yeah. But like what I also kind of like now want to do is I've seen that there's a lot of podcasts for that, like people are talking about like relevant like there's like a podcast here called like Chessplot in like Czech, and I want to write something that like downloads the podcast, creates a transcript, kind of like, and then like tries to find relevant people and kind of like gives me information about them, tells me what their projects are working on, and then kind of like creating like this pipeline, and then you can like direct it to like various, right? Like yeah, so kind of like I want to so I'm more thinking about things like that now, which yeah, it's not like features, but it's definitely things that need to get done. It's actually kind of fun because like it's a lot of agentic work and kind of like thinking about these like new types of systems where they make decisions for you, right? And yeah, and you then just like unleash them. Of course, I don't have it set up so they can actually send emails or anything, but like generate leads and get information for you. Do that like research part.
Yeah, we have a funny comment from Starmount Pictures. He goes, "The ultimate save the world shill, Bankman Friedman." You're talking about Sam Bankman-Fried, I think. The problem is, I think everyone starts off with good intentions, right? And then like money changes a lot of things, and then drugs start, and it becomes more fun to do drugs than actually save the world.
Yeah, it's the savior complex. A lot of people have it nowadays.
Yeah.
It seems like, yeah. I mean, like throughout history, there's always been like people with the savior complex, but yeah, it's hard. Like I feel that the pressure on kind of like succeeding when you're like in these circles, it becomes so big that you forget how to live and how to enjoy your life. You know, like and all you're chasing is kind of like this external validation, and gonna get bad.
Yeah, slippery slope. I've been thinking about my own like networking strategies too, because one mistake that I made was like, oh, I have an audience, right? Elixir Mentor, like this is a product that I want to use, so I feel like people listening to me would want to use it too. Not true, right? Like my audience, my current audience wants to build things in Elixir and learn Elixir, not buy some random SaaS product. So like I've been working on like I need to start hanging out in like prepper organization, like where people are kind of like security paranoid, but they think about planning for the worst case scenario, I had to like get on podcasts that are outside of the developer community and talk about my product and do that. And it sounds exhausting, but I think it's like one of those things that you just have to you have to do. You have to eat the glass and do things you don't want to do, because Kill Switch is a cool product, I think. And the best part that makes it the most fun for me is like I'm building it, because I like when I add a feature, it's like something I'm using. So like everything that I build, I'm like already using. Like I use Kill Switch for all my stuff. So all my loved ones, friends, and family are going to get dead man switch triggers if I stop checking in. And they're going to get videos from me, and I'm just going to make sure they can't forget about me when I'm gone.
That would be funny. Right?
Yeah. InfoWars. Oh, if I could get on InfoWars, you know, get what is Alex Jones? That would be funny. There we go. I'll get on InfoWars. I don't know if I have like the personality for that show, honestly. Do you know who Alex Jones is?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. he's an interesting guy. What's that? Oh, the frogs kid. That's hilarious. Yeah.
The funny thing is that like he actually like he has like some points in everything, right? Like there's like, it's not like it sounds absurd, but then you find out that actually, yeah, have been like some environmental changes, and like that like actually like there are frogs that can change sex, you know, and this like,
the problem, like I think why he's like so entertaining, right, is like I think he's got some sort of autism or like Asperger's, right? And he has the right idea, but like the way he delivers it, like you're turning the frogs gay instead of like explaining what that means.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like he jumps the gun and like delivers it in like a really autistic manner instead of just like communicating the problem. But he gets headlines because of it.
It's true.
But like, yeah, what was like the whole thing behind that? I think it was like some pesticide that was being sprayed on crops was like changing the genders of frogs, which is wild, right? But like saying it that way might like make people pay attention.
Yeah. But I think it doesn't always, because like it's well, I don't know much about it, right? Like it just like from things I've like heard and from podcasts and stuff like that. But it kind of like consumes a lot of information, and it's like you're getting lost in it, right? So like you partly understand what you don't get the full picture, and you just kind of like know the end numbers, but you don't know the story. And I'm not sure he always like knows the story, so he kind of like, you know, like gets out with the numbers, and it just sounds absurd, but then there is a story behind it.
Yeah. I'm sure that's the problem. Like you can only consume so much data and retain it, right? Yeah. And then like it's like I'll randomly remember minor like weird, you know, stats or some weird story, but I don't know how I got there. And if I just like randomly blurted it out one day, no one would know what I was talking about. But yeah, this has been a lot of fun. I think we can wrap this up. Thank you so much for joining me today. It was great chatting, getting to know you. Is there any words of advice or anything that you want to leave our audience before we sign off?
Like definitely check out Ash, even if like it's a little bit of a jump, but it's so amazing. I would say like as a project. And yeah, self-write your skills. Don't go about coding your skills and commands. Like kind of like be mindful. Like it's really interesting. Like words matter, right? So try to find the correct words to describe things, and and explore.
Yeah, one thing I want to add to that is I find myself kind of like tweaking my skills a lot. But like, as you see things that don't work, and like, you know, if Claude or an LLM just kind of like goes off the board and hallucinates in some crazy direction, stop it and like ask what made it go that direction. And like a lot of times you can like solve the problem, and it'll be like just simple word in your skill MD that just a minor tweak could probably solve the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. If I'm like, for example, like it's been like there's been like papers that if you use words like analyze, it kind of like really can change the kind of like how it approaches a problem, right? So kind of like you really kind of like some details can matter in terms of how you phrase your prompts, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. Awesome. Well, Vasilis, thank you so much for joining me. This was fun. I hope your ElixirConf, what is it's like before the conference, the smaller workshop stuff. I hope that goes well. I feel like that would be more fun than like a big talk, at least less stressful. Like you got smaller groups, right?
I think so. Yeah. Like it's my first time kind of like doing it. So yeah, but it's longer, right? It's like 8 hours. I feel really anxious, like when it's, because I've also given a talk in the past. It's really kind of like anxious when you know that it's just like I have 1 hour and you have to kind of like do it perfectly. While I feel it's more relaxed. You can like people are going to be doing work and you can kind of like just observe what they're doing, right? So it's definitely, I feel this kind of definitely be more relaxed. Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Well, enjoy. And it sounds like you'll get to meet Dharma there. So that's cool. And thanks so much. And for everyone that tuned in, thank you for watching. And I'm taking off next week, but then I'll be back at it with a guest. Actually, someone that I work with at Collects is coming on, and it's going to be a cool conversation. We're kind of changing the way that we're writing code, which is kind of cool. Like I think IDEs are dying because we're going to be writing less and less code, and it's more about reviewing code, right? So little teaser there. I think it'll be a fun conversation, but yeah, I hope everyone has a good weekend, and see you in 2 weeks.
Testing